And this is Arrows and Acres, a podcast for families building something that lasts, with Daniel and Allison Hartman.
Yeah. We're raising up arrows, we're working the land, a husband, a wife, and a God-given plan. And no shortcuts, we're doing this right, building a family that shines in the night. Arrows and acres, faith, family, home. You were never meant to do this alone. Arrows and acres, let's build something real. Welcome to the show. Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone, to Arrows and Acres podcast. We're so glad you joined us. It's going to be a tough episode. Tell us what we're thinking.
Arrowsandacres.com. And probably one of the most unpopular people don't want to talk about is what we're going to talk about is pornography and the effects on our children, on our families, the church, our government. Every facet of our lives is corrupted by this topic.
So today's title is Purity, Porn, and the Digital Battlefield. This is a battlefield, and we need to talk about this conversation that every family needs to stop avoiding.
I'm going to throw some stats out for you guys to kick this show off. And why don't you give the audience your reaction? And so I'm going to read some things off to you and listen to this. This is the Institute for Families study in 2024. It says the average age of first pornography exposure is now 12 years old, and 93% of boys and 63% of girls report being exposed to internet pornography before the age of 18.
Wow. And let's just stop and give a proviso. If you have any little children that have a pure mind and have no idea, keeping their innocence, I would say turn this off for them and come back and start, dealing with it. If you have any older children that are dealing with this is a good topic. But just be selective in who actually listens to this, because certainly we don't want to give ideas. I know our children, we have 4 that have gotten married, and we're explaining the birds and the bees as they're walking down the aisle. So we protected them from this topic and for their whole life, basically, as much as we possibly can. So go ahead, Randy. 93%. Before they're 18, is that men and women?
That's between the men, it's 93%. Yeah, before 18, they're exposed. And listen to this. This is staggering. Among teens surveyed, so those that answered the survey, 73% affirmed that they consumed pornography. More or less 73% what? Admitted. So how many didn't?
Yeah.
And 67% of girls said that they intentionally sought it out. Of those, 45% claimed they learned helpful things about sex from it, which is deeply concerning, obviously.
So what that is saying is simply they're being given a deviant, completely upside down world view of sexuality, not
unrealistic.
This beautiful thing that God created for marriage. And Satan says, be sober, be vigilant. If your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And this deviant view of sexuality is destroying marriages, destroying lives, destroying relationships, and just in the deviant side of it, just sucking the life and making people feel like they're not worthy to be a Christian or to serve God, or to, because they're so caught up in this endorphin soaked, what do you call it? Just more so than drugs, just heavy, chemically addicted.
93%. We're talking almost all.
Yes.
This is like
And
you
again,
said,
this is who is admitting it.
yeah.
Yeah. And here's how it's happening. This is a study by the American College of Pediatricians just in 2024. And in the survey found that 58% had seen pornography online by accident, okay? Because the algorithms search them out.
Yeah, I believe it.
And then, but listen to this, 44% accessed it on a school issued device.
Wow.
And 1/3 had encountered it on social media apps.
Okay, so a school issued device means that all of these safeguards are in play.
Sure.
Like
So they're able to actually
they're able to navigate, which means they have to actively get through these safeguards, and they're probably the best of the best. And I would think
Sure.
if we went to any school board or any principal and we told her this, she'll be like, "Oh, I have this, safety, all these whatever." But you know what? If these love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, these people that are making these websites and this content and this material, they are going to make it so these apps don't work, and they're going to get around them, and they're going to get bypassed. I mean, this is not easy to figure out, folks. We're in a battle. This is a war for the hearts and minds of our culture.
Yeah. So sad. I was just talking to a parent who was using a phone. I can't remember. I think it was the Gab phone. And they were just telling me, I think your boys have used it. There are ways around it.
Yeah.
And so we have a huge problem. We don't have a lot of solutions. But today we're going to talk about actually getting to the root of the problem, not just covering it up, Band-Aids, safeguards.
And I'm just going to say it. The solution is purity. The solution is having our children never see this stuff, keeping their innocence, not grieving the Holy Spirit, and constant vigilance, keeping them from it. And if they ever do see it or get involved in it, stop it, getting healing. And we'll talk about how that's done and what
and
needs to be
speaking
done.
even to the adults that are doing it and involved in it. And so I'll give you one more statistic, because obviously there's so much going on in the noise of media right now around Epstein and around, even congressmen and pastors and so much failure out there in this area. But listen to this stat. Children under 12 who have viewed pornography are statistically more likely to sexually assault their peers.
What percentage?
They just said that this is American College of.
Statistically,
They're more likely to assault their peers, and that's from the American College of Pediatricians as well.
Okay, and I'm just going to unpack that statistic. They are being abused by watching it, meaning that it's an abusive to allow a child to watch anything like this is just simply abuse, and then they're going to abuse because they've been abused.
Yeah,
and those who haven't properly dealt with this topic are going to abuse. That's what I'm listening to.
Yeah. There's so much data out there that we need to be paying attention to, but in this episode, I just want the audience to hear you guys unpack and have this conversation around purity. What does it look like? And talk about the battlefield of pornography, the digital battlefield that's out there. And so I think it's important that we dive into it. But why don't you first just talk about the effects of pornography on people and on children?
Yeah. Why is it important?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as from a woman's point of view, we can talk about how much it affects your marriage later on. Most of us know and understand that isn't real, especially with AI nowadays. Images that we're seeing often aren't even real people. Their body type is not even accurate of a actual person. It's not even physically possible. Even going back to Barbie, they've said that the Barbie doll figure, it's not even possible physically. And obviously, I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with Barbie dolls, but they made her look as perfectly positioned in all the areas so that girls would think that's what's attractive. So then you bring into to pornography, you've got these men that are their minds are being, their conscience are being seared, thinking that is what I want, that is what I need. And so for these wives, they can't keep up. They can't deliver what their husbands have seen. And so I'm obviously fast forwarding of how important it is to stay away from it. Talk about maybe young boys. How does this affect them?
Well, it rewrites their brain. It totally takes the endorphins. It's a heavy addiction, from what I understand, and the actual chemistry of the brain is turned to needing this endorphin-rich environment, and then they can't function without it, and they go back again and again and again, and it's just absolutely destructive to, just like devices under the age of 5, if their brain waves are completely structured differently for those that are on devices versus are not. What does the Bible say about it? It simply says, if you look on a woman lustfully, you've already committed adultery in your heart. And what does God think about adultery? It's
One of the
uh
10 Commandments.
yeah, don't commit adultery. Don't, yeah, fornication. And just simply, I'll go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and it says, "Do you not know that he who is joined to a harlot is one body with her?" And that's why it's adultery. That's because if you're looking at you're fornicating, you're looking at someone that is not your wife, then you're committing adultery with them. Then for the two, he says, shall become one flesh. And that's obviously spiritually speaking there. That's not something that actually happens with a married or with porn. But he who is joined to the Lord is one spirit with him. So we're as a Christian, we're married to the Father and the Son as the bridegroom to the bride, and then if we're married to our wife, and those two, the bed is undefiled. There's nothing dirty or shameful, and that's what the whole purpose of this is, to make something that's beautiful, that's ordained of God, that's gorgeous, that's made for marriage, made for being fruitful and multiply, to replenish the earth. It's made for good, and Satan's taken it for evil. Flee sexual immorality. Run from sexual immorality. Every sin that a man does, it's outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body. That's a sin against my body. If I in any way, or you in any way, enter into, and there's not other sin other than the sexual sin, that's the case. And or do you not know that your body is the temple of God? Like, beautiful, clean, the light of God, the light of the Holy Spirit is living inside of, shining inside of, the light of the world is inside of our bodies, whom you have from God. So God's given us this temple, this body. How can we join it together with a harlot? For you have been bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. We are God's. It's simple. We have been bought with a price. We're to not join ourselves. And we'll get into what the the bed being undefiled means in a little bit, but we'll move on from that.
I think it's important. I think it's important to share a lot of the word today. I want to go back to something you said. You said, Daniel, it changes the brain structure, and it actually particularly does. The research shows that it changes it in the regions associated with reward processing and impulse control. And when you think about that, and you think about how rampant sexual assaults are, and the deviancies that people are operating today in this culture, it is because they've been desensitized and their brain structure has literally been altered. I mean, talk about how, what is that looking like? And people are asking, how in the world can people get to this place and do these crazy things? It starts with pornography.
Right.
It starts with,
And it says, don't grieve the Holy Spirit. And what happens in this process is you can never get enough. There's never enough. And what happens is that, you wind up, the Ted Bundys of the world just started off with looking probably at the, lingerie catalog or the whatever, JC Penney's or whatever. And it's never enough.
yeah, it's addiction. It's an addiction. It becomes compulsive.
And then,
That's- yeah.
there's winding up and doing unthinkable things like, just unspeakable things that are in the Epstein files and our politicians are currently doing, which should outrage us all.
Yeah, I think it's important to not think of these horrible things thinking, my child will never get there, because that's not who we are. All of these, really, really bad situations started with this. I don't even like the word soft porn, but the softer side of porn, to where it,
Well, they're fully clothed, but they're just, that's what lingerie is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah.
It starts, I think it would be good for the audience to hear a story about just how it started with some fishing videos with
Sure.
some of your children.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. Talk about being
on
you-
a school computer, like we're talking about something that we got for school.
Mhm.
That's a good
Well, when you mentioned the the statistics about, what was the statistic about how many get a hold of pornography accidentally? I want to say you'd mentioned it.
Yes, it is
44.
43. Let me see here. It is 43%.
Sure.
Yes.
And that's a substantial amount. And it just shows that our
at a young age.
our children are not, most of our children are not seeking it out, I don't think. And so in our situation, we had bought a Amazon Kindle for each of our children to do a Becca video school. My intentions were 100% pure. I wanted them to be able to have an easy access to schooling. And because of that, we handed our sweet little innocent children unfettered access to the internet. But it never dawned on me. I was a 90s girl. I grew up in the 90s and 80s. That is not where my brain goes to. And I think a lot of us parents have to remember, we did not grow up in what our children are growing up in. And so when I handed them this tablet that was loaded with the streaming for Rebecca Video School to be able to learn math and grammar, all that did was give them access to the internet. And so conveniently, being kind of lazy, go ahead and look online if you need to, want to look at some fishing videos. And it honestly started so innocently, where Daddy was there and the other children were there. We were in the living room, and we just started noticing that fishing video, every click on the next, it just got a little bit more inappropriate. So it would start with just guys, and it would add maybe a girlfriend sitting there watching them, and then that girlfriend would have a bikini on, and then that girlfriend was wearing a lot less, and it went so quickly to where we really had to just, and thankfully we were being diligent, and we were aware of what they were watching. I can't imagine. We have a no device policy, especially back in bedrooms. We only have a few devices in our house. Our unmarried children don't have smartphones unless they have a child lock on them, which only I have the code to. We can talk about that more in a minute. We are very, things, when you bring these devices back in bedrooms, you're not able to sit there and monitor. There's a website, my girls love shopping online at websites called Shein or Temu, I believe it is. Well, any mom that's out there, if you've looked on Shein a couple times, you'll see you're just one click away from the lingerie department. And that lingerie department is not what we grew up like. And it very quickly goes raunchy, very, very, very disgusting. And so my little girls, 11 and 12 and 14, they want to buy dresses on there because it's inexpensive. They can get super cute, stylish, modest dresses. There's nothing wrong with that, but for me to hand them my device and say, go over there and start looking would just be irresponsible of me, because I know what's on there and I know how quickly it takes to just click on the wrong thing. And I so desperately want to keep my girls innocent, as pure as possible. And so we have to be vigilant. And so the accidental things, safeguards that I would recommend would be, limit devices. You as a parent, the parents need to have the main device. If you need a laptop for work, if you don't need a laptop for work, don't have it in the home. It's not worth it.
Do you and are you and Daniel free to pick up each other's phone and look through them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I do pick up his phone constantly because he never responds to text. So I'm always having to respond to text. And we have such a checks and balances. But not only that, the young boys that live in my house, we have a couple right now that are staying with us, interning. And I tell their mothers, if they're going to live in my home, they're going to be under my rules. And I'm able to pick up their phone any moment. Now, it is not easy. It is so much easier to just trust them. But it's not them I don't trust. It's the system. It's the evil behind it. They are wanting to kill, steal, and destroy my children's innocence, and I have to be aware of that.
So a question would be, and I think this would help the audience, the walls and the rules that you build in your own household, are those to keep your children in or to keep the enemy out?
Oh, absolutely, to keep the enemy out. Yeah. I'm actually not even concerned necessarily that my children are going to be seeking it out. But like I said, even me as a grown adult, I remember a couple years ago, I was searching eBay for some bathing suits for the family camp that we are a part of, which we'll talk about. And I just wanted some nice, cute bathing suits for my boys. Like they were 4 and 6 years old. So I just typed in bathing suits for 6-year-olds. And it was the first non-organic searches for bathing suits were pornography. And for me to be an adult and be able to see that and be able to immediately know what to do, I just pass it up or delete. For a young child, they don't have that natural ability. They have curiosity and they're, wow, I don't know if I've seen that. And so if they click, my word, can you imagine? And so we have to be there.
So we're constantly talking about this in our home updates, checkups, and the family camps that we do 3 times a year. We're every time, we don't miss it. It's unfortunately, as we're looking here, so pervasive ubiquitous across our culture that we have to. And the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And I cannot think of we're just talking about, the money that's involved. It's an assault on our society to get through all these safeguards. These companies are just barraging culture and all these devices with this content. And so as Josh McDowell said, and we heard him years ago, and like parents would always ask over and over again, when do I get my child a phone? What's the age that I get them a phone? When do I get them this device? And his answer was, when you want them to see pornography, when you want them to view. When you're ready. Yeah, when you want them to see it. Yeah, when you want them to see it. So
and your answer should be never.
Yeah,
which means
you should never want to see it.
When would you get your child a smartphone? If you can avoid it at all costs, we really avoided it for as long as possible Our 20-year-old that just got married, we did let him get a smartphone about age 19. But I was able to put a safeguard on there that actually the Verizon lady told me about. It was a free way to handle it. And it was pretty hard to bust through. You put it on the Apple sharing family plan, and I was able to have a code myself that obviously I didn't tell my children. And then I was able to decide what apps I did and didn't want him to have. It worked pretty brilliantly. So much so when he got married, he said, "Hey, are you going to let me have my child lock off?" And I said, "Of course." But he to that day, he couldn't even FaceTime because I had it so tight. And, some people might be thinking that's ridiculous. No, I know what the enemy wants to do to my child. And I did it with his permission. He wanted me to protect him. He wanted me. He knew how bad it was. He did have friends he had met that had fallen. And so he knew he wanted as much protection as
Yeah, and
possible.
what we're talking about here is 90% plus
So you can't say it
of
won't happen to me.
teenagers of culture. I mean, I was introduced to it at a very young age, and it's just simply if there's any way possible to not have that happen and have that influence and keep purity, because what is purity? It's innocence. We want to maintain the innocence of ourselves and of our children. About this, I don't know how
Every
many
day.
times. Yeah, I mean, we're talking to him. If you ask him, just pointing like,
Just about every day. Do you guys have a device back in the bedroom? Are you looking at anything you shouldn't? Every time I leave.
we make sure the doors are never closed. Like if they are, we want, like, you can't keep them shut. Like, knock, knock. Full disclosure, everything.
What do you say to the parents, the listeners out there, to say you're depriving your child from, technology? You're depriving them from this experience or that experience. And what do you say to all those people out there?
Yeah.
Well, I have a septic tank in my backyard, and I just had it
And we have a swimming pool.
clean the other day. And God's purity, God's perfection is this amazing, beautiful swimming pool that we can jump in, and it's gorgeous. And what we're talking about in pornography and the deviation from God's perfect plan, this beautiful, perfect plan, and I want to keep saying that and over again. Marriage bed is undefiled. We're one with God. We're one with our spouse. When you pop that lid to that septic tank, are you going to tell your children, I'm depriving you from going into the septic tank?
So let's go take a swim.
Right.
I so jump in there right now, because this I don't.
But everybody's doing it.
Everybody's jumping in the septic tank. You need to jump in the septic tank. I mean, that
It's
the
that
type
ridiculous.
the type of destruction and disgust that is in your septic tank is what we're talking
Well,
about.
not to mention,
It is the normal of this 90+% of these teenagers and adults beyond that. And what is going on in our brain to think that we somehow, that's okay to destroy the innocence
why are we
of
wanting
our
to
children,
set them up for failure?
and then destroy what could be a beautiful, amazing marriage and a beautiful children and brought up in innocence? It's beautiful.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
Parents, if you don't have a plan in place, it will sneak up on you so fast, and you'll look back and say, how did I miss it? When you read those statistics, and 90-something% of guys are weekly looking at pornography, and 70% of women, this is an epidemic. This is a
That's 74%, 93%, and 74%, right?
It's a true emergency. And if we don't take it seriously, the world's going to take it seriously. Satan's going to take it seriously. He is absolutely
Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is walking around like a roaring lion.
Yeah, he's not taking breaks.
Seeking
He's
whom
constantly
he may devour. We battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and rulers in high places. This is a spiritual battle. This is a spiritual thing, becoming one with God, becoming one with our wife, becoming one with the harlot. This is a spiritual thing, and our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and rulers in high places.
So yeah, I would not be even a bit swayed if someone said to me, "You're depriving your children." We were able to have 4 children out of 4 get married, and they can honestly say the first time they ever held someone's hand was with their spouse. Their first kiss was, say, for their spouse. They had such sweet innocence that they were able to enjoy all those firsts with their spouse. That should be our goal as parents, not to get so close to the edge that their conscience is seared.
Yeah, I'd like to. Speaking of marriage, and you have 3 daughters married, Daniel. How did that play out with your son-in-laws, and what kind of conversations did you have with them? I think it would be good for the audience to know, and for fathers to know, husbands.
They hated me because
we had some very uncomfortable conversations.
Tell the audience why.
Tell them why. Yeah. I mean, because I'm in their space, in their face. What have you looked at? Where have you been? What have you struggled with? Yeah. What? Full disclosure. And if I think they're lying, they're out. I mean, it's really that simple.
I honestly thought
I
everyone would
the
have that
Conqueror
conversation.
series with one of them, because it was just a hint.
Yeah.
So we went through a full, and yeah.
And it doesn't mean they're damaged goods, and you need to say, okay, you've looked at pornography once in your life, and you're out. That would be kind of crazy. I would not have married Daniel. That isn't a damaged good kind of thing, but it is a about face 180. You run from it. One of our son-in-laws, I loved his response when we asked him that question. He kind of had a face of just disgust, because he hadn't ever
been
looked
protected,
at it,
which is great. I mean, that's what we all want for our children, for our marriages.
He said what he does is he has trained himself to literally want to vomit when he sees images like that. And he said he really feels sick to his stomach. We're so comfortable sometimes. Some families might just be so comfortable with it because they're letting their children watch movies. Almost every movie out there is going to have some kind of sexual content. And what it does is it just makes our minds to where we're not even affected by it. It doesn't even faze us.
I'll enter this, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's so incredibly true because first world countries have so much money. They're constantly being sold sex, and the deviancy of to sell something like that, to sell something is just wicked in its inception, but because it's just rewriting the brains of the culture, rewriting all of society. But when you get in a third world country in the middle of nowhere where it's tropical and they wear no clothes, they're walking around with no clothes on, and they're not ashamed. They're not thinking about it. They're not. Everything isn't about a woman's or a man's body. It's not even because they haven't been told over and over again, this is how you have money. This is how you sell things. And, for example, they could be wearing nothing but a loincloth or a string. And they're like, well, why do you bother wearing that? You're wearing nothing. And they're like, oh, well, I would be naked if I wasn't wearing this. That would be shameful. So, I mean, it's just, I want to throw that out there just to say that we can be completely free from this. And in Christ, it's so incredibly important. And I'm going to just read this in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. For this is the will of God. So this is pretty important. The will of God. This is God's will, your sanctification. We need to be sanctified. That you should abstain from sexual immorality. And that's of any form, of any shape, of any kind. That each of you should know how to possess his own vessel in sanctification and honor. That's our body. We should know how to maintain our body in sanctification and honor, not in passion of lust, like the Gentiles who do not know God, that no one should take advantage of and defraud his brother in this matter, because the Lord is the avenger of all such, as we also forewarned you and testified. So it's not, if defraud your brother. It's what we wear. It's how we present ourselves. We defraud our brother or sister by us being sexualized, allowing ourselves to be sexualized, and then joking and coarse jesting, or whatever you want to call it in this manner. We're defrauding our brothers by sexualizing anyone by what we wear or what we say or what we do. That is not loving our brother. So no one should take advantage of and defraud his brother in this matter, because the Lord is the avenger of all such. So we're fighting against God when we do this. This is, vengeance is mine, I will repay, thus saith the Lord. As we also forewarned you and testified, for God did not call us to uncleanness, which is, lasciviousness and all these things and immorality, but in holiness. We're to be a holy and righteous. We're the temple of God. Therefore, he who rejects this does not reject man, but God, who has also given us his Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit, what should we be doing? We should be walking and overflowing in the fruit of the Spirit, not the fruit of the flesh.
Every arrow takes aim, every acre takes work, every covenant kept when it hurts. Keep going, keep building,